know you've seen some warning signs here lately defensively, but just what's missing right now versus where you want it to be?
Yeah, well, I think when you look at it, we've been able to force turnovers. And when you can force turnovers and get in transition and turn those into points, and then when you can't, like now you're going to have to play the whole possession outright and get a stop. And I just thought that Wisconsin's resolve and their toughness and their decision-making, their ability to break us down off the dribble and take us, I thought was really hard for us. And we had to do a better job guarding the basketball, and we just didn't. And then when you live in help, now you're really, if you don't get them bottled up, now that ball's going to move quick. And when you're dealing with one of the best shooting teams in the country, you know, they're going to make you pay, and they made us pay.
Matt, right here. When you're looking at this game, Big Ten game, of course, this is a home loss for you guys. Where do you see you at this point, knowing you still got Michigan State, a few people like that ahead of the game?
Well, you know, you just move to the next game, whether you win or you lose. Like, obviously, you want to take care of your home court, and we didn't do that today. We've had a couple losses now at home, and you got to regroup. You know, you got to be better. And a lot of times what it gets to is just being better at what you do. And so, like, when you out-rebound somebody and you have 21 assists and have 4 turnovers, like, you're putting yourself in a pretty good spot. But when you don't turn the other team over at all and you only out-rebound them by 2, you know, you're even there. So now who's going to shoot the basketball better, right? And so you're dealing with the best free throw shooting team in the country, one of the best three-point shooting teams in the country. And now when you get behind plays and you don't contain the dribble, and now you're stuck. And again, I think the stat that jumps out, which is just an unbelievable stat, is they're 20 for 22 from 2. So like we try our best. Like at halftime, they were like out of the possessions, and we go off of it, and we kind of scored. It's just not totally on possessions, but they were like 4 for 21 in possessions. Now you can get a couple possessions within the same one. At times, if the ball goes out of bounds, we split them. So they were 4 for 21 when the ball didn't go in the paint. They were 12 for 13 in a positive play. So if you get in the paint and you get fouled, that's a positive play. You're 1 for 1. You get in the paint and you spray out and shoot it, that's another 1 for 1. So then, like, if you get in the paint and you get fouled and then it gets taken out, you got 1 for 1. You score off that out of bounds play, you got another 1 for 1. So that's how we just kind of score it. Just like we got to live in the paint and we got to keep them out of the paint. So when we kept them out of the paint, good things happened in the first half. I haven't seen the numbers from the second half, but when we didn't, it was automatic. And so now when you look at that stat, that's something we really talked about halftime. We had a couple, you know, just breakdowns in terms of how we were guarding things on particular stuff, and we didn't stay detailed with it. But we said, like, none of it matters if you can't keep the ball in front of you. Like, none of it matters. And if you do, you can't get beat to the middle of the floor, and they were living in the middle of the floor. So the guy on the ball's got to do a better job across the board, and then our team defense had to be better when we came to help to square the ball. We kept helping and giving them angles. And, you know, Tanji's is a tough guard. You know, he does a great job of knifing in there and kind of long stepping and doing stuff. But, like, they had a lot of direct drives by other people too that we didn't get stopped. And you got to be able to, because they play behind the ball with big guys. And now when you jump stop, you got to push off and be able to switch that and read that. We had multiple breakdowns there in terms of how we wanted to guard it. When, to start the game, we did it 4 or 5 times exactly the way we worked on. And our concentration just wasn't very good. But I think great teams make you look that way. I think they got a special team. I told our guys there, they gave you a lesson in maturity. I thought they were mentally and physically tougher. It's something I write on the board every game. You got to be mentally and physically tougher than your opponent, and they were tougher than us in those 2 areas.
Matt, first of all, I'm just curious. You said that the 12 of 13 on a positive plays. I know coaches sometimes have like a range that they're usually like shooting for. Is there a percentage like that you usually?
No, not really. Like I shoot for the number. So like when you're 4 for 21 and 12 for 13, normally you're not 12 for 13, and that's a negative, right? Because that's when the balls get in there. But you still got 21 times that you kept it out versus 13. So when you get that way, you know, now it's normally like 6 for 13, right? That's how normally like it is. It's like 8 for 13. But you still got 5 to 7 possessions in there where it got in and you still had success. Like every time it got in, and we didn't. I think that's evident by the field goals. Like, I mean, think about how many games you guys have covered. Like, have you ever covered a game where the twos were 20 for 22? Like, it's, but, you know, they did a good job. They were well prepared.
And I think you kind of started to answer this, but with Tanji, you know, early on, I think he had more air balls than he had baskets
Yeah.
through the first few minutes.
Yeah.
What did you see change that allowed him to just take
Well,
over?
you know, he's a great scorer. Obviously, he's older. He's been around a long time. He's missed his third school, but he can really score. You see that 41-point game he had against Arizona. We got to the free throw line 20 times. You know, he's just great at driving the basketball, but he hit a couple step back. He hit a step back three in the corner down at their end to start the second half. That was big time. Then they hit another, then he hits another, and then we foul him. So, like, right there in a row, like, he just gets some quick points for them. And we're scoring, right? We start the second half, we're scoring. But they're 4 for 5. It seemed like right away I remember looking up and seeing, like, you know, we can't make a run. So we always talk about, like, 5, 6, 7 kills. A kill's 3 stops in a row. If you can get to 5, you're normally going to be all right. If you can get to 6, you're going to win. And by 7, you're probably going to dominate somebody, because those kills allow you to go on runs. So, like, when you score 47 points in the second half and you're up 1 at half, you think, hey, that's a win, right? But you don't realize you just gave up 58 points. And so we had 0 kills tonight. So in the first half, we got our kills to 2 shutouts 4 different times. We could never get where it's 3 in a row, and that's where you see the lack of separation. We should have separated at that time, but to their defense, they didn't allow that. They did a good job of continuing to score, and they were better than us.
Matt, you kind of just now touched on this, but I know at Michigan, the guys that weren't on the floor and you were happy with the shots at the end of the first half, they're without Blackwell. McGee's been ejected, and they go on a run in the first half. I think you go 4+ minutes without a field goal to end the first half.
Yeah.
What kind of happened there where?
You know, I don't have that in my head right now. Like I had it then. I don't know why I had it then. I don't have it now. So I'll watch and kind of see, you know, the shot efficiency for us. But, you know, if you look at like our numbers from an offensive standpoint in terms of shooting the basketball and taking care of the basketball, I don't think that was the issue. Even though, like, we got that lead right there, and that's, once again, that happens again, right? So that's what you got to go back. When I went back and watched it in Michigan, you know, I was happy with those shots. We'll see when we go back. I just don't have the recollection of it right now.
Looked like Miles was big down the stretch there. Just, you know, you put him on Tanji and the made threes.
Right.
How much did he help his cause and kind of show you something?
Right. You know, just we need some guys that are going to consistently shoot the basketball, and then when you don't, you know, play as much, it's hard. Like that's always been my line, right? It's hard to be consistent as a shooter when you get inconsistent minutes, and so you got to do everything in your power to get yourself there. But it was good to, you know, see him make some shots. Like, but he does, you know, he goes games where, like, he'll get a shot or two, and it's really hard. Like today, he got more opportunities, and he was able to knock some downs, and so, like, hopefully that can build some confidence. And when you shoot the ball, like, and you make some plays and you make some shots, it helps everybody, right? But it really helps yourself. Like, it helps you in other areas. But that's where, like, those guys that come off the bench, it's, you got to be able to bring something to the game. You got to be able to rebound. You got to be able to defend, but you got to be able to make some shots. And so it was a great sign for him to knock those 3 threes down.
Matt, back here. I know you've talked a lot about Trey recently. Career high tonight, another 20-point game. How has he grown just in the last few weeks, it seems like, and how much has the ownership that he's had surrounding this team expanded?
Yeah, he's been very consistent. Like, I thought he had a great game, and anytime you get that kind of a game, that should lead to a victory, right? Like, I mean, he's pretty good, man. Like, those guys they're not small people down there on the front line at Wisconsin. And when we got him the ball in position to score, whether it was at the nail or whether it was down there, like, he was getting to what he wanted. Like, he's gotten so efficient and good offensively. Like, he went 12 for 16, and you wonder why he missed the 4 shots, right? Because, like, think about all 4 of his shots that he missed, like, in your head right now. Like, he didn't take a bad shot. Most people that take 16 shots, you're going to have a couple in there like, hey, I'd like to have those back. Like, you know, he's missing every now and then some good shots, but like most of the time he's going to make 60 to 70% of those. And he's just developed. He's just gotten better. He's just kept working. You know, PJ's done a good job in terms of running stuff and putting him in positions. He needs space. And so, like, sometimes when they overdo that short roll, he found those guys, and they got good looks there. We made a couple, we missed a couple. And that's what he has to keep doing, just like Braden. We always tell Braden the same thing, like, just keep trusting your teammates. You know, just keep making the right play, making the right decision. But no, he's been great. Like, he was fabulous tonight. I thought he did a lot of good things for us and kept us in the game.
Matt, you mentioned them being more mature than you. You guys have a lot of experience that seem to uncharacteristically kind of frustrated mentally at points in the game.
It's a good way of putting it.
What do you attribute that to?
Yeah, you're getting into February and you're competing. You're trying to jockey to get yourself in the best position in the NCAA tournament. You're trying to win a Big Ten championship, and it gets hard. But it's hard for everybody, right? It's hard for everybody, and you gotta have a resolve about you when you miss shots. You gotta have a resolve about you and a mental toughness about you when you don't get the calls that you like. Whatever the adversity might be, you gotta be able to push through that adversity and fight, and then encourage other people. And so I talked to her afterwards. I just said, like, hey, you got to quit talking to officials. You got to quit showing body language. You got to quit being emotional. Like, there ain't nothing wrong with being passionate, but don't be emotional. Like stay with it, keep fighting, stick to our rules. We just didn't have the same discipline that they had. And you can go back and say they made more shots, whatever, but I liked their resolve. It was better than ours. And with that being said, like, I got to do a better job of getting them ready. I got to do a better job of getting them mentally and physically hooked up to play better. And so that's what you do. Like, you go back to the drawing board. You lose at Michigan, you lose this game. Like, hey, it doesn't matter if we don't want them. You still go back and look at things and be honest about things. But I like our guys. I think we have a good team. But we collectively just have to be better, and that includes me.
I think you had 8 fast break points right off the bat. and
Right.
Only 4
Right.
more the rest of the way.
Yeah.
Was that, what kept you out of transition from there? Was that not getting stops?
Yeah, and not forcing turnovers. That's the main thing. If you go and look the way, that's what we've improved on the most, is that we force turnover. We have forced more turnovers. And we were being active with things. Like, we were being into doubles on drives, doubles on post-ups, and then they just kept us spread and really did a good job of using their dribble. And so, like, now when you overhelp there on drives, now it gets you in a little bit different rotation on things. We just got to be better on the ball.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.